Hello, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Beyond the Summit presentation of the iLeague Chinese qualifiers. Here we've got Energy Pacemaker Gaming taking on Old Boys, and look at that. It is a 1-0 match in favor of Energy Pacemaker as they took down Old Boys in game number 1 with style. They're just really playing some amazing heroes to an amazing skill level, just really pushing the envelope as far as how they could perform in this game, and getting some respect bans out of Old Boys, actually, so that's pretty awesome. But yeah, we'll have to see how this next game plays out without those more signature heroes for Energy Pacemaker. And once again, I'd like to welcome in my co-caster here. I myself am Blaze, and I am joined today by none other than Mr. FlyingZebra.
What's up, Blaze? So yeah, 3 of the 5 heroes from last game are banned out, so we're definitely going to see something different here.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like, if you think about it, Old Boys are probably pretty unlikely to have researched Energy Pacemaker Gaming. It's just a team that nobody really thinks about and nobody's really heard of, and therefore you don't really worry about what they pick because you feel like you have just that innate skill advantage being a team composed of players that have been in Tier 1 teams. So in that context, they kind of just maybe only have the last game to look back upon as far as the enemy's drafts, and they say, okay, well, just ban that. Just ban whatever they picked previously, because that's their style, apparently. That's what you form in your mind, in the mindset. But they open up pretty strong here with Troll and Spirit Breaker, the Bash Lords, the Bash Brothers, and a lot of disable, a lot of control is going to be headed their way. Beyond that, they're going to be going up against Shadow Fiend, Lion, and Morphling. So kind of similar style to what we were looking at before. If it's a carry Morphling, it's kind of that use your abilities to dodge, play build defensively so you can play offensively. A lot of stats to play around with, that kind of thing. But how do you feel it fares against like this Troll, Spirit Breaker, Bash Lord type thing?
With the Shadow Shaman now, it feels a little bit weaker. But I'm not sure if it would be any stronger as a different role, like as a support or an offlaner, because I know offlane morph specifically gets kind of owned by Troll plus one hero with a good amount of disables. He just has so much right click damage and there's such low armor on the morphling early on. So if you have like a shackle and he's just pounding on the morph, he's gonna die pretty easily.
Yep, they're going to add in the Skywrath, so it does seem to me that it's going to be that Strength Morphling, because when you get the Skywrath Lion, those are damage-dealing supports, so what you really want to add into that is Disable. You get an Adaptive Strike stun for 4 seconds, the Finger of Death and Mystic Flare, that's going to kill a Troll, and that's the idea here. So I think it is going to be Strength Morphling, a mid-SF, and then you can get like a Slardar or some other physical damage dealer for your safe lane. Undying, though, coming out for Old Boys. Obviously, we've been seeing this hero a little bit more and more. I think he's pretty strong with the fact that he got his Tombstone buffed up, but we still haven't seen him that much just because it's hard to run him in the laning phase. Like, if you're not committing to a full aggro try, which is definitely possible here, Troll, Shadow Shaman, Undying could be pretty strong there, but if you're not committing to an aggro try, then you're not really running the hero optimally, and it's also very risky to try to go for that kind of lane composition.
I feel like it's going to be some kind of dual lanes here from Old Boys, like Troll, Shadow Shaman safe lane against the Morph. We'll probably shut him down pretty easily, and then Breaker plus Undying can put so much pressure on the other lane.
Yeah, Super Breaker plus Undying could be pretty good. Have you seen Troll plus Undying? It's actually like a pub strap, but essentially you drop down the Tombstone, you get the melee whirling axes out, and they can't hit the Tombstone to kill it. So they just get trapped in this position where they're slowed all to hell, they can't run, and they can't actually fight the Tombstone or the zombies, thanks to the Troll.
That sounds pretty legit, but no, I haven't seen it, but it does sound really good.
It's just one of those. I mean, it's not like in a highly competitive game, it's hard to say that that's reliable, that that's really going to work for you all the time. But in this case, I mean, nobody has True Strike. Nobody has a way to guarantee hits on that Tombstone. And rather than, disabling the person with hard stuns while the Tombstone wreaks its havoc, you can actually just do kind of a soft disable that limits their DPS on it. But yeah, we're going to see Energy Pacemaker go for their last pick here. I think it is going to be a physical damage dealing core so that they can have the Strength Morphling, but if they wanted to go for offlane, I don't know, Tide Hunter sounds good. Well, we'll see, but it's going to be Ember Spirit, so kind of a hybrid damage dealer, to be honest with you. A lot of early magic damage, later on can be physical or even enhanced with the Battle Furies in the Sleight of Fist. But how do the lanes break down? Is it anything more than what I mentioned before? Are they just going to run the kind of traditional defensive try with maybe the Ember and then the Morphling in the off lane?
What I could see them doing is going aggro try and to dodge the Undying, and I don't know how well that would work out for them though, because if the Undying just swaps lanes, then it kind of defeats the purpose. But it's something they might try to do, just to dodge the Undying Breaker combo, and then just have more flank soloing against that. Hopefully he'll be like survivable enough so where
Yeah.
he won't just feed or something.
Yeah, there's very little that those two can do against the Morphling in the laning phase. So if he goes for like a solo safe lane type thing, that seems like it'd work pretty well. We're going to have plenty of reserve time, though, onto Old Boys, and we'll have to see exactly where they want to go with this for their final pickup here. I mean, assuming you get like DD on the Spirit Breaker, you get one of the supports running on the Undying and Shadow Shaman, and you got your Troll for Zhou in the safe lane. You're looking for your mid. You're looking for something that could do well against the SF, but also just do in general deal with this kind of tri-core or 2.5 core because of the fact that the Morphling is likely to be dropping down big stuns. So is there any hero that just stands out in your mind as really good at avoiding being disabled while still dueling with the Shadow Fiend pretty well in mid?
I don't know if the disables what they're super worried about. I feel like they just need something to go with this breaker to like run at people,
Okay.
sort of thing. Like, yeah, okay, there you go.
So, yeah, a little bit, and some good innate survivability, not so much against the Ember Spirit or the Mystic Flare, but in general, YYF's going to be able to do some good work on this Templar Assassin, and really good at dealing with the SF directly. But they're swapping it up a little bit here. At first, Fan was picking up the Ember, but they actually are able to swap it over to the Shadow Fiend so that Ember can be played by Old Chicken here. So we'll see how the lanes break down. But for now, thanks once again for tuning in. This is game 2 of our 2-game series, or best of 2. However this one ends, it's going to be the conclusion for this match, and we'll go into another 2-game series. This is just the group stages of the Chinese qualifier, and as such, we're just building up points for either side. EP building up, I would call it a value point in what they just got out of Old Boys. I mean, it's definitely an upset, and it's also kind of a way to prove themselves. I mean, at the very least, even if you don't like go to the iLeague LAN, even if you don't take first place, just by taking games off of really good teams, you make a name for yourself pretty quickly. But ping check, it looks like we're going to go for a quick remake, AP style, and we'll be back at you with the continuation of this game with the same exact draft. Stay tuned. welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We got about 40 seconds to kill before I get into the game, but here we are with the AP remake of Energy Pacemaker versus Old Boys game number 2 in the iLeague Chinese qualifier. Here we've got a nice little set of lineups here, but we have yet to see them in action because of ping issues. Everybody wanted a remake. We got ourselves a remake, and we're back in the game. So once again, welcome my co-caster, FlyingZebra. How do you feel about these drafts? Do you think either one gives the team a bit of leverage in this game?
The old boys draft, I feel like it relies a lot on doing well in the laning phase. If they don't do as well as they expect to, then I feel like they're gonna struggle mid game with heroes like Undying and Shadow Shaman. If they're shut down in lanes, it's pretty hard to come back from sometimes.
One thing that I feel is going to be an issue for them is how easy it is for EP to position in fights against Old Boys. There's no real problem with clumping up and just focusing down one target, even if they are a little bit short range on the Ember and the Morphling. Like, it's perfectly fine to just go into it because there's no big AoE damage. There's like Ether Shock and Whirling Axes. Like, there's not really a big threat there. So, I mean, maybe the Undying gets a little big on Multi-Man Decay, but generally speaking, you're not worried about your RPs and your black holes, your sonic waves. There's none of that stuff. So even Axe is not in this game. So it's just, there's really nothing to punish EP if they all go in just a 5 and single target down somebody. So we'll see how Old Boys position the fight. I feel like they have to start off strong though, and that laning phase is going to be critical. So right now, just trying to move about the jungle. Looks like they won't find much, and they're actually splitting up a little bit, so I have to be careful. Charge level 1 on DD. He's going to be the offlane Spear Breaker YYF, the solo mid Radiant side. You've got Xiao running on the carry Troll. Undying will be support, played by 820. A lot of variability in this guy. He played Silencer earlier. He's played more traditional supports in the past. Just very interesting to see him at work. But Long DD, of course, is going to be running on the Shadow Shaman here. So we'll be looking towards that aggro try you were kind of talking about, or at least an aggro duel. You've got Undying plus Spirit Breaker, Decay and Charge, some points of frustration, and looking to kind of limit the amount of farm that the top lane gets. But Fan on that SF is going to look to at least go for some long-range raise play after he builds up his Necromastery at level 1. So yeah, it should be pretty difficult for Old Boys to really contain him, even though they have a very powerful kind of bruiser lineup. They'll force out the support. Like, the Skywrath won't be able to do much here, but the SF should still be able to farm under tower pretty well.
Yeah, but the thing about this is that they can possibly just kill him as soon as they hit 2 on the breaker.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to be a bit careful about that. The strength of this dual lane is really high.
Yeah, I think this pull is actually going to be really important here. Essentially, they intentionally blocked off their own hard camp so that Old Boys couldn't pull it to the side. They're going to go for a single pull here, and they're going to try to use that in a way to kind of pull some Creequilibrium shenanigans and try to get it into a Fan into a safer position. But we'll see how it works out. Usually this is going to push out the lane, and even though the Trolls kind of sustain themselves for longer, it's still going to be the wave fighting under tower, pushing out. And I think the idea is to push it so hard that it pushes under the tower and goes back in favor of EP. I'm not sure if that'll work out the way they want it to. For now, it's going to feed a lot of experience the way of Old Boys.
Yeah, but I think this experience is pretty much going to be guaranteed. I don't know if there's a way to stop it for them.
Yeah.
And so pushing this out just means that it's harder for Old Boys to actually take a fight if there's like a double creep wave. So basically, whenever the lane's pushing out, there's a double creep wave, and whenever it's pushing in, that's when they can maybe be aggressive, but then they just back off and wait for it to get under tower, and then just farm it there, and then it's hard to be aggressive again.
Well, they will actually connect with some good spells here onto the Undying, both the Hex, the Earth Spike, and the Arcane Bolt, but no raises. Oh, Fan just got that long-range raise. It would have been a kill, but he gets charged back. The Salve comes out, and 820 heals up just enough to be fine.
Yeah, he had no decay stacks there, so he was a little bit vulnerable. So like we talked about, it's just an easy chance for them to take a fight when there's a double creep wave like that.
And so now they're going to kind of push them under the tower and just do some good long-range harassment damage. 820 has to be very careful here. Only 2 tangos. And now the Soul Rip. That'll help them out a lot, actually. Soul Rip was buffed quite considerably for level 1. As far as how it goes or like the damage per heal per unit, I think it got reduced. But the scaling on the units actually got fixed a ton. I think it went like 510. And so now it's actually going to be guaranteeing some good healing. Morphling down bottom, waving out. Still no shackles coming from the Shadow Shaman. I noticed he was level 1 and only a creep away from level 2 to try to get some extra control in that lane. And then I look back a minute later and he's still at that exact same experience level. So they don't find the kill on the Morphling here in mid. Templar Assassin can't really refract much of Ember's damage. And that's probably why they went for the lane swap. They were intending to run the Shadow Fiend mid, but when they saw the opportunity to get the Ember versus the TA, they thought they have a pretty good matchup there. But honestly, both sides are vulnerable, because although the Templar Assassin can't really use refraction for defensive play, the Ember Spirit is also very susceptible to the physical damage burst. He's only got 1 armor, so I could see it going either way. It really depends how Old Chicken uses the remnants when he gets those. Oh, actually, a Mirror Spike and a Hex on A20. Nice charge once again onto Fan, so he's going to be in retreat, but he's got a Magic Stick. As long as they keep their distance from this Tombstone, which is only level 1, they might be okay. There's not enough mana for the Soul Rip, so LT will go down as the first blood. DD dueling it out, gets another charge, looking for bashes. Oh my gosh, those bashes coming in from DD. He commits hard, he makes it work, and man, he just is able to set them up for now a 3-0 as Ember Spirit goes down mid. I was talking about that physical burst, but I never imagined it'd come out so cleanly from the TA. 893 damage. That's all of Ember's health.
Yeah, I think it's just the early boots. He just chased them down, but...
Oh, Morphling down bottom, being chased to the last right click from the Troll Warlord, and it is now 4-0 in favor of the Old Boys. This is the Old Boys we've been looking for. They're back on the old horse. It's definitely the warm-up game for Game 1, and yeah, showing what they can do in Game 2. But we expected them to win the lanes. I didn't imagine they'd be actually killing off 4 of 5 heroes in EP's early game.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious. I didn't actually think about it too much and pay attention to who drafted for Old Boys this game, because I remember the last series we watched with them, they switched drafters between games.
I think it was Zhou again. I think it was when like Long DD Zhou in both days, and in this case Zhou's draft seems to be a little bit better for getting off the ground quicker, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Obviously we had the AP remake, and I wasn't like trying to... It wasn't really on my checklist as far as things to check for, but that is actually really relevant if it's shifted this dramatically.
Just curious if maybe it's something that they're trying, like a new style of drafting, like switching it up in between series to like throw
Hex
off the other
and
guy. Tombstone
coming out here onto the SF is who they're going to pursue. He's got the Magic Stick. He'll actually be able to make his way into the jungle, and this is huge because he can juke so hard in the trees if he doesn't get blocked, but he gets pincered in from both sides. Oh, 820 and DD. They've been around those trees for quite a long time. They know how to work it, and now actually going to be a lot of damage on the line. Empowering Haste is popped immediately to try to pursue. They'll pop 1 Soul Rip to try to bring him low, or just go for the right clicks here, and it's not enough, unfortunately. So, the decay though. Oh man, he actually Soul Rips an ally and then decays forward, knowing how much mana he has available, and they're actually able to still get the Lion kill, making it 6-0. Long range raises, not getting any rebuttal, and yeah, just again, they're just so dominant here as they just show the aggression. The entire time the SF isn't farming, we'll look over at sorting out our last hits to 26-14, as SF is now sitting only at 12 Necromastery stacks.
Yeah, and then like we talked about in the beginning, and we talked about in past games recently that we've seen this morph offlane, is having a hero that can pretty much solo against him. And then any support help is obviously like just going to guarantee that you win that matchup even harder. This Morphling has 2 CS. He's getting his levels, albeit slowly. He's getting them, but they're just crushing him in this lane bottom and even putting pressure on the tower now.
Yeah, now it's going to be just Adaptive Strike. No waveform mana now. Why would you Adaptive Strike there? Oh, boy. He's going to bait it out, and he's going to be able to Strength Dwarf just enough to survive. And we're going to see Old Chicken actually turn it around. So great TP, and that's the reason. It was essentially a waveform disengage us too heavily. He wanted them to chase, and that's exactly what happened. So they go ahead, they clean him up. Shadow Shaman heads back to the Bleeding Hills, and... beyond that, there was an attempt up top that did fail. The Spirit Breaker just very lucky to be hiding in the trees, and a lack of vision from EP right now. They've got some good control of the top rune and towards the mid, but as far as like the side lanes, they're pretty blind.
Yeah, and it was pretty good timing by them. The rotation was just like really fortunate when it happened. or when the dive happened, because there wasn't any pressure being put on top at that moment. They were both backing off to heal up. So the SF was still farming relatively well while they did that rotation with both supports.
So this is the second time in a row we're seeing more points in Morph early on than just the level 1. Usually it used to be like the 1-for-1 build for Morphling in the off lane, but here he is going ahead, he's putting the second point in it, so he doubles the shift rate, I believe. Yeah, and he also, it's still the same mana per second. So essentially it's more efficient shifting, as well as it's twice as efficient and it's twice as fast. And that means that he can, on the fly, change his agi to strength a lot faster, or the other way around. Do you feel that's worth the skill point over, like, just prioritizing the adaptive strike over anything?
It's really hard to say. I feel like this Morphling offlane or support Morphling stuff hasn't been figured out entirely yet, and there's so many different ways you can do it. Like we seen the other day, the Morphling maxing the waveform first because he was put in a solo lane, and it worked out really well for him. Unfortunately, like the rest of this team, like they lost all the lanes, sort of. But
yeah, okay, we're gonna see a charge on mid, not committed. Just too far into the tower. They're playing pretty defensively, and again, those wards from EP. That's the one thing they have going for them is no charges are coming from top to mid without them scouting it out.
Yeah, it looks like the Undying wants to dive the tower. They're trying to take this.
Yeah.
That Amber rotation earlier got this tower really low.
Yep, so they're going to go ahead for pop the glyph, but it shouldn't be a hold. I mean, the tier 1 tower is already so low, so they're just going to try to turn and get a return kill. The Earth Spike going to guarantee it onto the TA, and Morphin gets the adaptive strike onto DD, so he's going down. No way to get out of there, and they even get the tombstone on top. So they do lose the tower. That was not denied by against the TA, but they will get a lot in return. 125 gold actually going to the Skywrath here. Big boost for him.
Yeah, I feel like the tomb maybe could have been popped a little earlier, but they weren't sure if they were gonna, if EP were gonna commit. I think they were waiting for the commitment, but they just weren't strong enough to survive the initiation.
How would you rate the value of these tier 1 towers for old boys lineup, taking them down early? Is it something that's kind of a foregone conclusion with the Troll Warlord, or are we looking at something that's going to allow them to really control the map better, get more aggressive charges out? Like, is this kind of a, I don't know, symptom, or is this a key strategy, a key part of the strategy to keep up the aggression?
I think it's pretty important, especially with the Undying Shadow Shaman. You want to be taking towers and like forcing things. If you're not able to force things with Tombstone and Shadow Shaman wards, then you're just not going to be successful with your lineup, I think. These heroes.
So 3 tier 1 towers down. The Master Serpent wards take the tier 2 down about 1,000 HP. And they are leading in kills 6 for 4, but I will remind you that it was 6 for 0 earlier. So all these kills have been trades so far in the past few minutes have been extremely in favor of VP, and it definitely shows their potential comeback swing. I mean, the adaptive strike is now very powerful. He's at level 7 without any points in replicant. So essentially just goes ahead and says, oh, I'll get 2 points in morph, avoid the replicant, and by 7 I'll still be maxed out. So now he's pretty much at his strongest point. He is at his scariest right now, and they're looking for a Mystic Flare kill. Oh, there it is. DD, as tanky as he is, he's still going to get just destroyed by all that magic damage. And it hardly costs them anything. I mean, the Skywrath might have to go back to base, but the Soul Ring Morphling could keep fighting.
Yeah, it's just so easy. There's no finger expended. Didn't even have to hex. The line's still just 1 mana drain away from being topped off, pretty much. It's just so easy.
Yeah, it's a great combo for finding those early kills and breaking down like this momentum from old boys. We do see the Ember Spirit trading hits a little bit with the TA, the Mild Strike. It certainly hurts, but at the end of the day, unless YOF starts like stacking up Ancients and building up his farm that way, I just don't feel like the tempo is really where it needs to be. We're going to see an Observer Ward come out on the Radiant camps, the Hard Camp Central, as well as of course getting control of the bottom rune. Now we see Old Chicken charged against. He'll pick up the DD rune, and they might be able to bait this, actually. DD goes in, they see him, but Morphling's not close enough to go for the strike.
Yeah, but they're still looking for something here. They're waiting for someone to just walk down through these trees.
Yeah, they thought the Spirit Breaker might follow that route, but in the end, if they walk around those corners, they're going to find there's 3 or 4 members of Old Boys here that they really can't deal with. They're really good at focusing on single targets. They're really good at disabling single targets between the Lion and the Morphling. But when it comes to the full-on fights, it's still kind of even ground between the two. So we'll see. A Desolator already up for the TA. That's actually amazing Desolator timing. 12, not even 13 minutes. Even if they don't find something here, they can just go for Roche.
Yeah, they're rushing this Deso pretty hard. This is first item.
Ooh.
You don't see that very often.
Yeah, gonna go for the waveform TP, but the charge is already there, so Morphling's just gonna get bashed down, and yeah, no hope for him. It does give them the opportunity to go ahead and just put the Remnant in the pit, so they know exactly what's going on when, and maybe are able to address it. But as for, with the Morphling having his respawn time way too long at 20 seconds, I don't think they're gonna even go in. They see it happening, but with the meld, the Battle Trance, and the Mass Serpent Wards, it's just too much.
He might try to buy back and steal it. That seems really risky.
Yeah, I mean, he'll just go for the jump through here and clear out that Remnant, but it's going to be an attempt for a two-man charge. Now, Earthspike in the choke point here. DD taking a lot of hits, but it looks like Lei's the one to be caught out, actually. He gets hit by the Whirling Axes, and yeah, quick one hit to bring him down. So, essentially, the best way I could see that is they were trying to posture to fight outside the pit. There's no way they actually take this ground, because in here is the Tombstone, the Mass Serpent Wards. That's too dangerous. But I think as Old Boys were trying to retreat, that's where the clash could have happened, but they didn't feel confident in it once Old Boys started getting back into formation. So AP, they disengage, unclean, and that's going to be another death. It's actually Ember Spirit with the Remnant. Where is the Remnant? We'll have to see if he can jump out here as he gets charged on.
It's gone.
It just expired. Oh, man. He can jump up to a cliff, maybe. He'll try, but it's too late. The slows, the charges. I'm not sure why he didn't jump out immediately. That Remnant must have been in danger zone, because otherwise he would have probably just used that as a knee-jerk reaction.
It's that, or he also had no way of knowing the Spiriker was coming right away. He probably had a hunch he was coming, but yeah, you might be right. It might have just been in a risky spot anyway.
Hard to say, but now we see a Smoke Gang coming through, looking for that Mystic Flare combo once again. He just focused on the Undying. He's got the mech, he's got the Soul Rip, he's got the best way to keep his team alive.
It's really hard to say. It's going to be really hard to take him down. They just stand on top of him.
Mystic Flare, Figure of Death, that's a quick and easy kill, but now they lose the Skywrath as well as the Lion, as there's a quick Ether Shock coming out. Chicken will find out Long DD individually, bring him down quick with his entirety of his mana pool. And Temple Assassin did get stunned once again. That Adaptive Strike, very short cooldown, very long uptime. And now, are they going to try to fight it just with these three? It got Fan coming in from the side, but without the Requiem. Magic Stick charges could give it to him, he will pop them, and they look to defend the tier 2.
Well, just like you said, they burst the Undying. It's a little easier to fight here. Now they don't have those two heroes that give them such a strong static fight at the tower.
Couple of pinprick hits against the tower, refraction in exchange, but Tia's got that Aegis. She's pretty confident they're not going to go on her first. They're going to go on the Troll Warlord if they can, or once again on the Undying. Now, again, Soul Rip and Mechanism, this is the lifeblood of the team, so you take him down without him using any actives, and that's going to be them still feeling pretty good about the fight. But just rallying the troops once again. They want to keep this momentum rolling. They have the Mass Serpent Wards, but the tier 2 is so low, they'll keep them in reserve. Now blinking forward. Oh my gosh. Almost bringing down the Skywrath, but a nice quick stun from the Morphling. Great play from him. Now it's going to be the Mass Serpent Ward trap onto the Lion, and almost Side Blades cleaving over to the Skywrath, but it's actually the Nether Strike onto the Morphling. He'll try to morph up, but both of them go down in the end. 3 for nothing. Diving in past the tier 3s. This is what the team is capable of. With the TA with that Blink Dagger. Just blinks in with the refraction up, nothing to stop her, and even the Spear Breaker diving deep. This is your dive hero you were looking for with that last pick, and it's so much better with the Blink Dagger. Like, this TA's farm is absurd, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not even just the 4 kills and 3 assists. It's her amount of CS, it's the Roche last hits. Like, having the Blink of the Desolator this time is exactly how they break the base. And now we're seeing it here, EP. They have to win this fight, because if they lose racks, it's just too much. So they'll go in from the side here. Nice flank position. DD going very low, but he's not dead yet. Oh, he's still alive for a moment longer. Now he'll go down. And Templar Assassin has to be the focus, even though she has Aegis. Now going to see Ember Spirit take 2 or 3 right clicks, and he's almost dead. YYF will pop the Aegis, but they still have the numbers advantage here. Fan TPing back. So, do they commit at least for 1 rack? Still, it looks like they'll try. But without any mana on either the Shadow Shaman or Undying, it's very difficult. Battle Trance coming through. Melee racks down. And I figured they'd give it the walk away with that. The Desolator right click, though, they feel confident, and they will take it away. So 2 racks down, EP. They engaged hard, but the Ember Spirit's just too squishy at this stage of the game.
Yeah, so something I wanted to talk about that's really interesting about Old Boys draft is that they have 3 heroes that want to, like, maybe just 2, but the Breaker and the TA and maybe even the Troll want to kind of run at you and just chase you down and fight you, right? But the Shadow Shaman and the Undying want more of like a static fight, surrounded around the wards and the Tombstone. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a weird how this is working out so well for them. I expected them to like just lay down those the Tombstone and the wards and just force towers and then back off. But with this advantage, I guess you could just do whatever you want. I think like if it was a closer game, they would be delegated to playing around those things more.
Sure, I think so. I think one big aspect of it is how quick the kills are. If you jump in and you chase and you get a quick kill, but then you're able to back off into the wards and into the Tombstone, it's a clear retreat. Actually, A20, oh my gosh, 2 ultimates again committed, but the Morphling is now just going to be bashed down. Fans got to pull out a great Requiem this time, but he's getting bashed hard. Nether Strike against him, but doesn't pop the mech yet, but there's that Requiem on to 2 melee heroes. Just needs 1 raise to finish it off. Has the mech, he doesn't use the mech, the bashes lock him down. Triple kill for Zhou on the eastern front. We have Ember Spirit locked down thanks to the Blink Shadow Shaman, and wow, what a wipe. What could have been going the other way really hardcore with just the usage of that mechanism instead is Old Boys taking it with only 1 loss, and they're going to just clear out this tier 2 tower no problem at all. And I just feel like it's the overall durability of EP that is really hurting them. The Skywrath Mage has 1 armor, the Ember Spirit has 4. These guys are like 3-shottable to the TA. The Meld Strike takes out almost all the Skywrath's HP. So in this position, they're able to take the kills quickly and then fall back onto the Tombstone and the wards if they need to. But so far, it's been pretty unnecessary. They're just doing so much, and the mechanism was what I feel was going to put EP back in the game, but it didn't even come out that fight. Oh.
And now the TA is a BKB.
Wow, yeah, he's going to go ahead and do whatever the hell he wants. Max side blades, max range. Oh, man, he just clears out both supports, no problem at all. Now they go back to the racks. That's a 2-lane advantage at 20 minutes. And
yeah, there's just no coming back from that.
That's GG. What a draft from Old Boys, really just taking it to EP.
I thought it was just really cool to see. I expected it to work out a little bit differently, but they just got this huge advantage and they're able to take control so easily.
So is there anything that you would think of that would be kind of a better way to counter this draft, turtle it out a little bit better? I mean, obviously the Earthshaker was banned out for EP pretty early on. They couldn't pick that hero up to kind of play more defensively. What do you think that could have managed this a little bit better?
It felt like they were too focused on this Morphling combo and just bursting 1 hero and then taking a fight. The problem is that it didn't matter, like unless they bursted one of the cores, it wasn't a big deal that the Undying would die at the start of every fight because they were just still so strong. Because after those cooldowns are expended all in 1 hero, what's really left? There's another Adaptive Strike coming, but the Ember and the Shadow Fiend aren't super strong at that point in the game. Shadow Fiend arguably the strongest hero, but it's just not enough.
Yeah.
So maybe if they had a little bit more control or something with their supports, like with the Sky especially, or something like that, and then just like maybe the Morphling, it really didn't work out the game. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Do you think anything with more survivability, like if they got an Omni Knight or a Dazzle or something, could kind of keep people alive long enough to actually get some damage back the other way, or is that just kind of fighting a losing battle?
No, I feel like that's kind of what I was getting at, is something a little more utility-wise. So something like a Dazzle maybe, and then something make up for the lack of damage with like a different pick besides the Morph.
Sure.
So something just a little different. It's just a different kind of strategy that didn't work out for them this time.
All right, well, that concludes the match here, guys. It's a 2-game series, a best of 2, and it ends 1-1. Old Boys and EP, they tie it up 1-1. There will be no Game 3 decider. I know that confuses a lot of people, but we are just going to be going into a different match here, as it is just group stage. It's just points on the board for both teams. So Old Boys gets a point, Energy Pacemaker gets a point, and both walk away at least a little happy. It's not an all-out loss from either side. So as far as I know, rares are returned. Bugattis will stay in their garages, And we'll be looking at another match pretty soon. So looking that up right now. iLeague's next match for their Chinese qualifiers here, if my computer would load it, is going to be Old Boys versus CDEC. So CDEC is a nice collaboration of multiple players. Originally just kind of like was a pub stack from their Elite Gaming in-house league. And then they got sponsored by LGD for a bit. They went their separate ways. They changed their roster a little bit. And now they're looking at pretty good. I would definitely say like tier 1.5 status. So looking to fight it out against Old Boys in a few minutes here. We've got about 15 minutes to kill before that, so we'll just put on some music, and you guys can stick around. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Once again, happy to be able to broadcast this to you guys on behalf of Beyond the Summit. If you have any feedback, any problems with the broadcast, just hit me up on twitter.com/blazecasting, and of course, follow my illustrious co-caster, FlyingZebra Dota, who's been taking us through the analysis here today. So, once again, thanks for tuning in, and the game will be starting in about 15 minutes with Old Boys versus CDEC Gaming.